Welcome to another episode of Life's a Vacay podcast, where you're designing life on your own terms, so you're always living on purpose. Hey everyone, I'm your host, Cha Jones. Welcome to Life's a Vacay, a weekly podcast series that focuses on living a life without limitations. Life's a Vacay wants to encourage you, the listener, to be intentional about your dreams and goals. Get out of your way and create the life that you desire that is not based on what people want for you, but on what you want and deserve. You have one life, and the goal is to live your life to the fullest and die completely empty with nothing else in you. So that's what we're going to be talking about. So today, I want you to welcome with me, I have Miss Tiffany Heard. Tiffany is a proud graduate of Howard University, HU, if you didn't know, where she obtained her Master's of Social Work. She has currently traveled to over 20 countries and gives back selflessly by volunteering abroad. Ms. Heard is a content creator who discusses and documents her solo vacations on her travel blog. She is also the author of Hues of Africa, Journey Between the Lines. She was inspired to create this book because coloring calms her soul, and she desires to globe-trot throughout the continent of Africa as a traveling social worker. Please help me welcome Miss Tiffany Heard. Hey, Tiffany.
Hey, how are you? Thank you for the introduction.
Thank you for bearing with me, and thank you for coming on to Life's a Vacay. I appreciate you and want to have everybody know about you and what you do. Now, we actually met, it's been several years now. You are a speaker at one of my conferences, my first conference, Ladies, Lipstick, and Luggage, which was my first travel conference, and you were a speaker. So thank you for showing up then, and I thank you for showing up now.
Thank you for having me at the conference. That's funny because it was so many years ago, but through that conference, I've made several connections, and we still talk to this day from some of those people I met there. So thank you for having the conference.
Sure, it was a pleasure. Now, this podcast has been like sitting with me for a good while. I've wanted to do a podcast, but I always felt like, oh, I need the best co-host so that I can have somebody to thrive off of. And then I eventually got to the point where I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do this because I can hold my own. So thank you for joining me today. I'm going to jump right in. And I want you to tell everybody, I know I did an introduction, but I really want you to tell everybody what you're working on.
Okay. So the latest project, I'm going to say the latest project, I am an author. So my latest book, Hues of Africa, Journey Between the Lines. So I wrote that book. I'm actually dedicated to my grandmother. She loved coloring and activity, and I love travel. So I said, well, why not combine the two? She's no longer here. But I wanted to make something that people could enjoy, that they can do on a plane ride, that it can, soothes them, calm them, different things like that. Because when you're on a flight to Africa for a 10-hour flight, what do? You can sleep, you can watch a movie, or you can learn more about the continent. So the book talks about language, music, hair, and then it actually goes into the separate countries in Africa. So I'm super, super excited about that. And we are officially have sold over 500 copies. So I'm so excited about the book journey.
Well, congratulations on being an author. Congratulations on writing such a dope book and inspiring so many other people to do something that they want to do and love. And that's really what Life's a Vacay is all about. So tell me this, what sparked your interest in traveling?
So I would say my first trip. So but let's take it back to college. So in college, I would always go to like the study abroad office. And I'm like, wait, where do I want to go? And I always, it's funny because I always looked at the Africa books or whatever. And then I was on campus one day being nosy, and I heard somebody talking about a trip they were taking to Ghana. So as an adult or as a college student, that's really what sparked it. And so my first passport time was to Ghana. But even before that, my family has traveled as well, but they usually kind of stay more so in the States. So that was my first time able to go out on my own, and I was there for 6 weeks. So that definitely started the travel bug, because I had so much fun. That was like probably one of the best trips that I've had, or for as group travel, because there was several of us on that particular trip.
Right. Now, that's interesting because, so I have a master's in intercultural communications and international education. And one of the career paths that you can take would be working in the study abroad program. However, I have not done that. But one of the things that was interesting that when I was studying was that most minorities don't even know where is the study abroad office. And that's interesting that you were like looking for the study abroad office, or you found it and you were interested in finding out like what do they do and how could it serve you. So my question would be like, why were you looking for the study abroad office?
Because I knew that I wanted to travel. I knew that there was I knew there was an exchange program. Like, oh, okay, I can really live in another country for a whole semester. Unfortunately, I did not do the semester thing, but I still got a taste of it doing that summer study abroad. So I just always wanted to see the world. Like, I feel like there is something magical about, seeing other cultures, meeting people. Like, of course, I love my culture, my Black culture, but what else is there out there? There are people that look like me, but we may have something different, and I want to learn about that. So I feel like that's kind of what sparked my interest to want to travel.
Great. So what have you learned the most through your travels?
I definitely learned that you have to be open and you have to be flexible, because I can make an itinerary, I can make a plan, and I kid you not, something always never goes right on the itinerary or that plan. And I think that's a life lesson as well, because things are not perfect, right? We can say, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, but there may be a different path from the one that you planned. So I feel like that's one of my biggest lessons, is to be flexible, and know that there are multiple ways to an end goal. So even if I say we're gonna start out this way, I can still have a lovely trip. We may just have to go a different route.
Right. And I think that's important, especially in life. You start off with these dreams and aspirations. And I find this very interesting for people who have like committed to going to college and they have this whole life that they planned out of how things are going to happen. And you never foresee all the roadblocks, the challenges, the detours that are going to take you in a whole nother direction. I have a friend who started off in engineering and now is like definitely doing the whole international thing. And that's not really what she set out to do. I think young people need to really take advantage of the possibilities of life. And that should be drilled into more people. Like there are possibilities. And when you're open to how life can unfold versus trying to make it be what you want it to be, then you can start living the life that you truly dreamed of, or really, and sometimes it's not even about the dream that you had, it's really about the dream that you were created for. And I think oftentimes we get in our own way with our desires. And what do they say, that like you can make the perfect plan, but then God, can come in and redirect that plan.
Exactly. So, that's an example of COVID. We had so many plans. And God was like, nope, y'all can all sit down.
Right. Yeah.
So I think that's like super true. And two, I feel like that trip was almost that was in 2007. So long ago. But actually it came full circle, because in 2019, in 2020, I was actually able to take a group back to Ghana. So I also planned group trips. So it was full circle, coming from somebody taking me on my first international trip in college to me bringing people to Ghana, where I first fell in love with it. And they were only there for 10 days and they were crying at the airport because they weren't ready to go. So interesting how, how life goes.
Right. And that's amazing. It's amazing when it does come full circle, and especially when you step out and you do something that you love, and then you have the opportunity to then influence and help other people do the same thing. So that's what's up. I love it. So let me ask you this. Like, so you majored in social work. Are you currently doing anything in social work now?
So not exactly at the moment, but I do take travel assignments on occasion within social work. So a lot of people don't even know that's possible because they think of social work as like, oh, we take kids. No, social work, and there's so many entities to it. But they actually have something called travel social work where you can actually go to different states and travel. And you would do social work there. They also have international social work, which I learned when I was in college. And you can also work abroad as well. So the travel assignments are more like in the hospitals. So I was in San Francisco last year. I think I was in Seattle, Washington. So it just depends. So I'm not full-time social work, but I do take those travel assignments here and there.
Okay, that's great. And I think a lot of people just think of, like you said, social work being, oh, I work for the state and I'm part of, a child protective services or what have you. And I think it's important to think about the facets that you could actually, uncover when you start looking at the depths of careers and how they have changed, especially over time. I have a friend that is a nurse. And a lot of times you think, oh, if I'm a nurse, I'm only going to be at a hospital or a doctor's practice, but I'm definitely not going to be able to travel. And there's traveling nurses. And then now you have nurses who that's all they do is just go from one house to the next house, kind of like a traveling doctor used to be way, way back in the day. But it's wonderful to see how different industries are morphing into something much different that gives people more freedom and flexibility within that industry. And they can then start doing things that they love, like traveling, like seeing the world. So that's important. So let's get into the travel aspect and blogging that you have done in the past. Where did you decide that or when did you decide that you were going to start your travel blog?
So it was about 5 years ago. I had taken a trip to Thailand, and somebody was like, hey, can you write an article for my blog? And I was like, sure. Come back from Thailand, write the blog. And I never heard back from this person. I'm pretty sure I emailed them, didn't hear any response. And so I was like, you know what? Instead of trying to put something on somebody else's blog, why don't I start my own blog? And so that's kind of where it started from. Sometimes we think of rejection or denial or something, but that actually allows us to do the things that we need to do. It's something we may not even thought about doing. So that's how it started. We just kind of went from there. So yeah, we're a 5-year blogger. And then we have gone on to YouTube. I'm officially a YouTuber. And so yeah, so it's basic. Blogging is the writing portion of it, and then YouTubing will be vlogging, and that's more like the video stuff. So it's funny when you talk about evolving into the travel world, there have been different things that I have been able to do in the travel world that's evolved from traveling. And then it's like, what do you call those little spider grabs we used to do in elementary? You got one thing in the middle, and then you just branch off to different things. So yeah, so that's where we kind of are now, blogging, YouTubing, vlogging, and the book, and doing group trips. So that's kind of my travel things that I'm doing right now.
Okay. And tell us a little bit about what you're featuring on your YouTube.
So on the channel, we're featuring everything. So a lot of people, when they talk about YouTube, they tell you to niche down. I guess I'm not technically niche down completely. It's just overall travel, but we have travel guides, what to do in, Tulum, what to do in Mexico, what to do in Ghana. There's also places to eat, where to stay at. I talk about dental tourism. We talk about a lot of Black stuff. So we'll have Black in Tulum, Black in Tijuana. So we are definitely African American or Black. I'm not gonna say African American, Black centered because we're international.
Okay.
So those are certain things we do. Interviews. I just interviewed somebody talking about traveling in school and stuff. She is living her best life in Ghana right now, off of a scholarship doing her master's program, and she's going to become a foreign service officer afterwards. So we do those type of conversations on the blog. We talk about love. We talk about love abroad. We got dating in Africa, dating in Jamaica. So we actually do a little bit of everything on the channel. And there's practical stuff, how to apply for a passport. What's the difference between a passport card and passport book? So we have a multitude of things on the channel.
That's what's up. I think that's important, because then you get to see yourself in different aspects. And I think even like looking back at the whole travel, Black travel movement and how it started, like in what it kind of like morphed in 2008, 2009, and then it's just kind of like expanded, and it runs the gamut. So you have, you know, your LBGTQ and all, you know, the acronyms. And then you have, you know, women in travel and solo travelers. You have the foodies. You have, you know, like you said, like the medical piece, the people who travel just for medical assistance or just to have a better life. Then you have your expats. You have so many different genres that you can kind of go off into when you're thinking about traveling or you think about living abroad. And it's really interesting because I know when I started, it really wasn't that big. It was like, we don't do that. We don't really go past this particular line. We kind of stay in this particular area. And they used to say, like, most people live within like a 10-mile radius and they stay within that 10-mile radius. And that's why when you said you were seeking out the study abroad office, that's amazing because there's so many, especially Black students, that don't even think about like the possibilities of going somewhere else, because they don't even think about the possibilities of going somewhere in their own city, because most people operate within their 10-mile radius. And beyond that, it's like, that's a chore. We don't go over there. We don't do that. I know that when I lived in Tennessee, oftentimes you would hear people like, oh, that's too far. And I'm like, what? Like, it's the same city. So,
right.
So that's amazing that you're looking at so many different aspects of what travel is. So is there any particular story that has really like altered some part of how you see travel, or has this really influenced you to do something different?
I guess so. I guess the one of the things that I do kind of maybe differently is that volunteering abroad aspect. I think it's because my background is in social work, so I've always loved to like help out and stuff like that. So I've been able to do at least two like specific. That's where I went for that trip. One was in St. John, the Virgin Islands. And so we were rebuilding homes there for like 2 weeks. And the amazing people that I met and still are in contact with today was absolutely amazing. And just to give back, because I live in California, so we don't have hurricanes. I don't even understand really the concept of a hurricane except for what I see. So to go down there and see like the destruction that it had on this, you know, tiny island, and to be there, even if it was just a small impact, just to be there and to connect with the people that were on the island, because some of them actually were helping us rebuild their homes as well. And then going to Spain to teach English, completely two different experiences. But being around people, just having conversations and talking about life, like that was the whole volunteering aspect. You didn't have to speak Spanish or you didn't have to be an English teacher. It was literally just conversation. And I love to talk to people. So that's something that I kind of do a little bit outside of the norm. And then even on my trips, when I do the group trips, I try to incorporate an aspect of giving back. So when we went to Ghana, we went to an orphanage to hang out with the kids there, and that was awesome to talk to them. Sometimes we don't talk to kids, sometimes we talk at them. So to dance with them and collaborate with them and different things like that was super, super awesome.
That's amazing, because you don't think of, like, especially when people go to travel, oftentimes it's for a vacation. And so they're not really thinking about, like, let me go do something for someone else. So that's really dope that you are stepping outside of yourself and just giving back and finding ways that you can connect with people. And when I think about like living abroad, I think about like, how can you really connect with the community that you're living in versus just living in a particular area and saying I live here, versus let me connect with the people, let me have an understanding of the culture, and let me kind of like infuse myself into it. And so just having that opportunity, that sounds amazing. Tell me a little bit about what, and I'm going to ask you a couple questions that's kind of like about what I see Life's a Vacay being, in the sense of, like, for me, let me just kind of define it for the listener. So Life's a Vacay for me was really looking at my life and saying, you know what? I'm living on purpose. I'm doing what I set out to do in life. And my life is not about hard work. I really despise hard work. I think it's important that you work hard for what you love and it doesn't even feel like work. And so when people say, oh, I had this hard day, like, I don't even want to live like that. So for me, when I started thinking about designing Life's a Vacay, I really wanted to design a lifestyle that I don't have to take a vacation from, a lifestyle in which, I can really just be myself and wake up every day and just be happy. And so many people are working 9-to-5 jobs. They're not happy. They're living paycheck to paycheck, and they're doing something that they really don't love anymore. They may have been inspired to do it at one point, and now they're like, what in all of the world am I doing? But when I think about when I used to work in corporate and I would take a vacation, then I needed a vacation from my vacation, because you go off and you do all these different things. That can be amazing, right? But then you have to return to work. And then it doesn't even sound right when I'm saying it. But for you, who has had this amazing journey where you have done work that you love, and you are obviously a social worker at heart. And when I say that, I mean that, some people, they're just born to help others, always seeing the good in people. And we need those type of people. And then, there's people who we're not even gonna talk about, but they're the takers in life, or they're the designers in life, or they're the visionaries in life. And I think it's amazing to just be able to incorporate that aspect of your life and giving back. So tell me, like, when you think about the work that you do you think it has chosen you, or are you choosing the work that you do?
It's probably a little bit of both, I would say. Um, because it's funny you're talking about 9 to 5. I feel like if you have asked me this literally probably 4 years ago, I would have said I'm a 9 to 5 person. I'm not an entrepreneur. I'm like, okay, well, I don't know if I was okay with just going for 2 weeks vacation, but this was my life. So I was actually laid off. So I feel like I was pushed into entrepreneur. But being pushed into entrepreneur has been a journey. And it has been, I feel like entrepreneurship, it has its ups and its downs. So that's why I say I think it probably was always in me to do it, but sometimes we have to have that extra push to get there. So I would say I definitely think it's a little bit of both. Yeah.
Okay. And that's fair, because sometimes we don't, like I said earlier, we start this life and we have this thought of how it's supposed to go, and we try to design exactly what we want, and then life happens and it kind of morphs into something else. And so oftentimes a lot of people, they do get forced into this life of being an entrepreneur and trying to figure out, how do I continue to eat? How do I continue to do whatever I want to do? And you may not be finding jobs, or you might just be sick of living a certain lifestyle and you decide you're going to change it. So it's not always storybook and has a plan to it. Sometimes life happens and then you have to make lemonade out of lemons. So
right.
yeah. So what motivates you to keep going in this particular arena? Like in the travel arena, why continue to go in the travel world?
What, honestly, who motivates me is the viewers, the people that are watching the content, that are reading the content, that are commenting on a Facebook post or an Instagram post. Like, they definitely recharge me, because sometimes you do want to give up. Like, it's not easy trying to be a quote unquote influencer, right? Because influencer mean, are you getting likes? Are people commenting? Whatever. So if I be like, oh my God, why am I doing YouTube? Then I'll get this message and be like, Tiffany, I booked a trip because of this video you posted. Tiffany, I'm so thankful. Thank you for sharing this about dental tourism. Oh my God, your guide that you wrote for Mexico really helped me out. So when I hear the feedback, that definitely motivates me to keep going. I kid you not, there's always an inbox or a message or something, probably on a weekly basis, telling them how much they appreciate it. So when they appreciate stuff, I'm like, okay, Tiffany, you can put out one more blog post, you can put out one more video, you can have this discussion. And then obviously the other thing that motivates me is just because I love to travel. So if I'm doing a group trip, although I am working on these group trips and I'm not relaxing as much, I do get a chance to relax once the trip is over. So then I can enjoy the vacation that I'm offering to other people as well. So that is my motivation, to just like keep seeing the world. Like, people's like, Tiffany, you've been so many places. I'm like, yeah, but I haven't been to a whole lot of places. Like, the world is huge. So I'm still continuing on this journey to see what else is out there. And then too, like, and even with the book, just with them, like, oh, I didn't know this about Africa. And when I read this, I learned this in a book or something like that. So that right there, to educate people. And then also too, some people, like you said earlier, some people may not ever leave their city, their country, their state. And so it's like they get to travel through me. Like, of course, I want them to experience on their own, but honestly, some people really will not experience things on their own. So if they can even see a glimpse of what I'm doing, that makes me happy as well.
That's beautiful. I love it. So when I think about what you just said, you're doing work that inspires others. And like you were talking about, when you create trips, it also creates an opportunity for you to see something as well. And so, when I think about Life's a Vacay, it really is about being able to have that career or the opportunities that you are creating space for other people, but you're really truly living the purposeful life that you want. And that way, you kind of feed others while feeding yourself, is how I look at it. And so with that being said, how does the career that you have kind of created out of something that you kind of didn't really expect, how has that created freedom for you?
Oh, it's definitely way more flexibility to travel. There's no way that I can volunteer for 2 weeks in the Virgin Islands if I had a job, because mind you, we only get 2 weeks of vacation, and you don't want to. I probably, honestly, if I was working, I'm probably not going to volunteer for 2 weeks. I'm probably going to be trying to vacation somewhere because I have limited time. So it definitely gives you that flexibility and that freedom to do the different things that you want to do or explore. Even writing the book, like, you know, I had time to write a book, whereas if I was working, it probably would have been limited, or me trying to figure out, okay, how can I carve out time after work? And then the other thing, I always think about like clocking in and clocking out. Like, I don't have to clock in and clock. I mean, I may have deadlines or things I have to do, but it's not that like, okay, I gotta be in at 8 o'clock, be out by 4:30. And then the other awesome thing is I don't have to ask for my time and for my vacation. I don't have to put in a vacation request and be like, I need this time off, and then them denying it. I had a job where it was, before I got on the job, they said I had a trip planned and for my birthday, and they were like, yeah, it's cool. You know, you tell them in the interview. I get to the job and the lady says, oh no, you cannot take this time off. And I went back to my old job, trying to go back to the old job because I knew I had time on the books over there, and they had already. And this how you know about jobs. They'll push you on out real quick and hire somebody in the next day or two. Mm-hmm. So I couldn't go back to that job, so I was kind of stuck, you know, with this particular job. But stuff like that, like, I still get mad when I think about how I didn't go on my trip because it was to Disney World and a cruise. But that flexibility now, I do not have to ask anybody when I can go, where I can go. It's literally, hey, if I want to go, I just go ahead and go. And the only person I have to answer to is myself. So that flexibility and that freedom is awesome.
Freedom is everything. And that's like the core of Life's a Vacay and the whole premise around it. So I can't talk about freedom without talking about fear for some reason. Because I feel like that there are so many people who deny themselves the ability to have more freedom because they have fear. And, you know, I think about fear, and I think, to me, the whole definition of it is false evidence appearing real, right? It's like we have conjured up all these stories, and a lot of it is based off of past experiences or what other people have told us, and we create this illusion of what's going to happen, even though you don't even know what's going to happen if you step out here and do whatever it is that you want to do. So let's talk a little bit about fears. What fears or challenges have come up while you taking this journey of being an entrepreneur and living out your dream?
Oh, I think fear is all the time. I think there's fear of any time I start something new. Is like, are people going to be receptive? Do they going to like, are they going to even buy this book? I'm working hard on this book. Is anybody going to purchase it? Is anybody going to sign up for this group trip? Is anybody going to like this new YouTube video that I worked hard on? Like, I feel like there's fear all the time, but in that fear, it doesn't matter. So I would like to say, sit in that fear. Like, it's okay, but just don't stay stuck there. Like, I can be fearful and still try to do something, because you never know what's going to work and what's not going to work. I always say there's 26 letters in the alphabet. So if plan A doesn't work, try B, C, D, all the way to Z. And something in between from A to Z, I'm pretty sure something will stick. So I think fear is definitely a real thing, but I think it's a matter of are you going to allow that fear to stop you, or are you going to allow that fear to propel you into what you are supposed to be doing?
That's it. Y'all, if you didn't get anything else from this whole entire interview, that's it. Like, fear, you know, it's going to come up. There are things that you're like, oh my God, that's bigger than I can ever even imagine. Or you might even be at the point where, you know, like Tiffany, you just got laid off, you know, rent's due next week. What am I going to do? And all the things of what, you know, all the things that could happen might be happening, and you're like, what the hell am I going to do? But if you stay fearful and you sit in that, then what's going to happen? That's why I always think to myself, like, okay, I can walk through this, or I can sit here and I can soak and nothing happens, right? And it gets worse and worse and worse, versus if I just get some gumption and be like, you know what? I'm going to do this regardless. I'm going to jump off the cliff and I'm going to just know that my wings are going to appear and I'm going to soar. And sometimes it's not immediate. And sometimes you step out there and things that you thought were going to happen actually start to occur. But you still have to push through it because what's on the other side of that, you have no idea. And it can be amazing. Doors just start opening up and people start showing up and things start to happen and the money appears. But when you sit and you keep doing things that you don't want to do, you stay miserable. You not only, especially if you have children, you not only create that energy for yourself, but you also create that energy and other people around you are perceiving that as well. And then you create a whole snowball effect of poor energy that you're putting out into the world. So it just really behooves you to just really sit with that fear and not allow it to overcome you, but, look at it, address it. I'm scared, and you can admit I'm scared, but I'm going to do it anyways, and I'm going to move forward. So I like what you said, and I appreciate that because I think a lot of times people they talk themselves out of doing something that has the potential to be great because they're scared. And we all have some type of fear, but those who really are successful, they have fear and they do it anyways.
And the other thing too is to like, don't give up so easily, because as I said before, I've been blogging for 5 years. And when I say blogging for 5 years, the stuff that I'm doing now is something that wasn't happening in the beginning. But because I stuck with it, people are like, oh, okay, she's still here. I think a lot of times we try stuff, and if we don't see immediate results, then we're ready to give up. Okay. But if I gave up a long time ago in the first year or two and I didn't see anything, then we wouldn't be to where we are today. I have made a name for myself in the Black travel community. They know Tiffany solo travels, or Tiffany has a book, or Tiffany goes and volunteer. Like, these things are constantly ingrained because I have stuck with it. And so that's the other thing. I see a lot of people giving up real easy. And so, they always have that little meme where it's like somebody's picking away at a rock and they stop right before the gold comes. So I'm still waiting on my where I'm making, 6 figures. It's coming. But I have to keep it up, and you cannot listen to those people around you. Have a lot of people say, well, why are you doing videos for free? Why are you writing for free? Well, everybody has to start somewhere. If I don't write, then how do they know what I'm capable of? If I don't put a video, they don't know what I know how to do. So yes, some of your stuff is starting out for free, but that's okay. That's you putting your name out there. So don't let those people that don't understand content creation or traveling in your ear, because they will tell you, you ain't making no money, you ain't doing it, why you ain't doing it? But then when you show them the outcome, oh, okay, look at where we are now. It's like they're quiet. You like, but I know what I'm supposed to be doing. You let me handle this, and you handle your own stuff. But my whole thing is just don't give up and don't expect immediate results. Yes, we are in the world of social media where you can go viral, right? But honestly, the people that sometimes go viral, it's like, what do they call it? What did we call them back in the day? When you were only famed for like one song, like, you know what I'm saying? Like a one-hit wonder.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I feel like if yes, I want to go viral, and I have in the community world, but the point is, besides the viral ends very quickly. I'm like slow and steady, like I'm always there. You'll see a viral, but I'm still here. You may see another viral the next year, but I'm still here. So I think that's slow and steady. Although sometimes myself, I'm like, dang it, when we about to hit big? You know what I'm saying? But I realize that slow and steady is good.
Right. And the other thing about that is consistency. And it just shows that, when you're consistently doing something over time, it will produce a result. And I think oftentimes when people think about like those people who blow up, or, oh, they're just amazing now, or, they went viral. And And oftentimes that wasn't their first video. That wasn't their first article. That wasn't the first book. Oftentimes that's like the 15th thing they did. They just continued to do something, and they may not have gotten the results immediately. And I just think, especially in social media, it just seems like, these people have just produced something and immediately now they have success, when it takes years to really get to the next level. And sometimes you may have that one or two people that actually do something, and then like, bam, something happens. But oftentimes that's the result of somebody else's work that they benefited from. So it's, just stay consistent and still believe in the dream when other people don't. I think that's important, and I'm glad that you even said that, because you do have so many people who won't take the risk because they feel like the reward needs to come right after the risk, and the reward may not come until you've taken 15, 20, 30 risks, and you just keep doing it because you believe in yourself and you believe in your dream and you're passionate about what you do. And when you really find where your passion meets the work that you've done, you'll start receiving the rewards, and you'll start getting the accolades for the things that you've done, and people will start noticing you. But it's not let's get rich quick overnight. It doesn't work that way. And I really wish people would quit trying to sell that, because that's not reality for most people. It really does take dedication, hard work. So before we end this particular podcast, where I have enjoyed speaking to you, Ms. Heard, about your wonderful travels, your volunteerism, your group trips, and that lovely new book that you have out on the shelf and at Amazon. Let me ask you this. When you think about Life's a Vacay and how I've described it today, what does that mean for you in your life?
I guess that just kind of means designing the life that I guess when they say cliche, but they say, when you're doing something you love, it doesn't seem like it's work. And so I think that's kind of Life is a Vacay. That would be kind of the meaning for me. And yeah, just doing something that you love. So if I love to travel and I can take others along with me, like, that's exciting to me. And to see that their excitement is there as well just kind of means that I'm living the life that, although I didn't know this was a life for me, living the life that it was meant to be. And so we always say, things happen for a reason. Like, is that another cliche? Like, some of these cliches are really cliches, but if you really think about it, you're like, yeah, I guess I was supposed to be laid off. Now, again, plan that I ain't never been laid off before. That was not in my plan. Mm-hmm. And my plan was to go back to work 9 to 5, 6 months later, and that did not happen. So I think whatever is meant to be will be. And I think this is what is meant to be in my current life right now. So this is me living out my unbeknownst dream to me. And so that's what that means.
So if you can leave the listeners with a nugget to help encourage them to create the life that they have been dreaming about, what would that be?
I would definitely say just kind of think about those things that you enjoy doing. What is it that you enjoy doing? And if you are trying to be that entrepreneur, what are you an expert at? So if you're an expert in traveling, think about ways that you can be an entrepreneur. Or if you say, I just want it to be a hobby, then go ahead with that. But I think we really need to think about what exactly we want to do. Talk about these things. They talk about, manifestation. What am I looking for? Do I need to write it down? Do I need to write the vision down, make it plain? Do I need to say it out loud? What is it that I want to do so that you can be intentional about those things? I've said, oh, I want to meet so-and-so. And then I met somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody. Oh, okay. I just said that about a month ago that I've been trying to reach out to this person. I didn't know how, and then here he came. So I think we should be very intentional about what we want to do, either verbalizing it or writing it down or telling somebody else. You never know. And that's why I love to network, y'all. Network. If you're trying to be an entrepreneur in this travel space, network, because you never know who knows who or how you can be a help to each other. It's not all about what you can get, but what can I get? What can we offer each other? And you talk about in terms of like, let's say, hey, Chai, I need help with this conference. I know Chai does conferences. And so I've helped her in the sense that, hey, I've signed up for her event. So let me check her. Let me see how we can help each other out. So definitely that networking piece is absolutely huge as well.
Definitely. And I think more people need to learn how to network and to not, don't be out here in these streets taking and not giving, because it needs to be reciprocal. And I'm a reciprocal person. I love, like, if I give, let's give back. And it doesn't have to come the same way it went. It's just that, you keep the energy moving, you keep the resources moving, you keep everything going when, you give what you get and you get what you give. And you think about others and you call upon others to participate and not just take. That's important.
And refer to, if you know somebody that somebody's looking for a solo travel. Oh, okay, Tiffany does that. Oh, okay, I know Chai did a conference before. Oh, I know this person does that. Refer somebody. And I think too, we're in the mindset too. And I'm gonna say us as Black people, sometimes we have the mindset that we can't work together, or if we're doing the same thing, like, okay, I'm cool on her. Like, no, do you know how many other people are doing group trips? Like, there's so many people out there, but that doesn't mean that we all can't win or work together. Because I may not be going to Thailand for a group trip, but I know somebody that is. Or I'm doing Mexico, so okay, let me refer to this person. So if I see something and somebody asks a question, I'm like, oh, I know somebody that do that. Let me just go ahead and plug them together. So definitely making sure that we can all win and work together at the same time.
Yeah, and that's huge, because a lot of times people think, if you do something that I do, like, you're stepping on my shoes. And that's not the case, because there's enough of the pie to go around for everybody. Like, everybody does things differently. And I don't feel like you do travel, I do travel. Like, just because we're in the same space doesn't mean that we have the same people, because we're catering to different people. So I appreciate that. I want to thank you for showing up once again for me, and doing this wonderful podcast and doing this interview and encouraging someone who is thinking about starting a business, trying to figure out what's next, who may have gotten laid off, or who just doesn't really know what to do and they really want to live on purpose, but they don't know how. And so I hope that they were able to gather something from you, your experience, your journey, and just the fact that you're a loving spirit. Yes, please tell people right now how they can copy your book and how they can support you. And if they need an itinerary, how to holler at you.
Right. So the book Hues of Africa can be found on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target, Walmart, online. And then you can follow me on socials, Instagram at Sweet Tiffies, Twitter at Sweet Tiffies. I think Pinterest, Sweet Tiffies. But the YouTube channel, a little bit different. Where in the Herd is Tiffany. That is a little bit different. But yeah, check out all those channels. And if you need an itinerary anywhere, hit me up. If you're trying to go on a group trip, hit me up. We're we actually have our first day trip this coming Saturday to Tijuana, Mexico. If you've ever been in California, it's near San Diego. So I'm excited about that. We have Colombia coming up. I think we're going to put Ghana on the list at the end of the year. So we are definitely ready to go and would love for you to join us.
Thank you again, Tiffany. Make sure you support her and don't forget to like, share, or support this podcast, because I want to continue to be able to bring other like-minded individuals onto this platform so that they can tell you about how to get off of your couch and get to action doing what you love to do. Thank you again and continue to support.
Bye-bye.
You have been listening to Life's a Vacay podcast. Thank you for tuning in today. Every day you have a choice, so choose yourself and never allow your circumstances to dictate the life you live. Whatever you don't like, you can change. Remember, nothing happens overnight, but know that when you set goals and take inspired action, whatever you desire can come in perfect timing. Never give up on creating the life you deserve. Don't anticipate your next vacation when you could be living a whole life on vacation. Until next time, I'm your host, Cha Jones. Please remember to like and share this podcast so that others can be inspired. Peace.